Air Force guy, RV extraordinaire, coming from Beckley's Camping Center today to talk to you about how to properly operate. This is a Suburban water heater. Now this is going to be gas and electric, but for more information on this particular system, or if you have any questions on any RVs, my contact information will be down below as well as at the end of the video. But in the event that you stop by Beckley's Camping Center, or if you call, or even if you email, be sure to mention the Air Force guy, and I'd be glad to help you out. So let's get on to this water heater. So first things first with water heaters, you're going to have different variations of water heaters. This particular Suburban water heater is going to be both electric, meaning 110, as well as propane, or LP as they call it. So it's going to be both, but on the LP side, it is going to be what we call a direct spark ignition, meaning DSI. There are other variations of the water heaters out there. You do have electric only, you have propane only, and of course, as we have here, we have both of them. I'm going to go over some more on this. If in fact you have a propane only that's a manual, I'll link a video down below to show you how you're supposed to light those. So, but more on this here now. Okay, so the question is, bug screens? No bug screens. You know, if you read your owner's manual, you're going to notice that it tells you, do not put anything over these, it will disrupt the airflow, which is true. However, something you need to ask yourself, do you want to go ahead and keep from having issues with stink bugs, bees, spiders, whatever that may get in there? Because that could create quite the problem and keep you from using your water heater altogether. Now, for those of you that want to use screens, but you don't want to create an issue, my recommendation is very simple. Use zip ties to put them on here instead of the little springs that come with them. So they do come with springs. However, and they come with this little tool. The springs, over time, if you're putting them on and off, they're going to go ahead and stretch and they're going to end up getting loose and everything. With zip ties, it makes it very easy for you to put them on and take them off. And that way there you can go ahead and put these on when you're not using the water heater and take them off when you're not. Something else you might want to consider, depending on your water heater. Now this particular one is inside of the frame. You have some of it on the outside, but take a look and see how much room you have. This one has a lot of room along the edges. And what you may want to consider doing is putting some type of a, like a door seal, you know, you'd have for a weather seal, for your doors. Put a little piece up and through here to keep them from going in there. Just a quick tip on that. So that is what would keep from having any bugs and so forth getting in there. Because what you'd run into is this tube could get filled with stink bugs or spiders or even bees. But more importantly, this bigger tube in this area could create the bigger problem of getting a stink bug nest. And if that did happen, you could be in for a rude awakening, because once that lit, you could have it's almost like a fireball coming out of here and create a major issue, totally damage your water heater. So keep that in mind. Now let's say that for some reason the propane side is not lighting. Something you do is if you have an air compressor, and if you do this before you're going on your trip, you could probably alleviate this problem from happening when you're camping. And all you do is you have a little air compressor, you can just blow through the line through here, through this little tube, that typically resolves the issue. Now, like with any water heater, prior to turning on your water heater, make sure that you have water in it. Within a few seconds, if you were to turn on the electric side of this water heater without any water, you're going to burn up your element, you're done. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go through the steps on operating this here in a moment. I'm just going to show you some different pieces of the Suburban water heater, starting with the anode rod. Now what this does, the Suburban water heater versus the Atwood water heater, this is a steel tank, whereas the Atwood water heater is an aluminum tank. Now, since this is a steel tank, you don't want it rusting, and that's what this anode rod does. What's happening is this will go ahead and corrode so your tank does not. And this thing should last you 2 or 3 seasons, depending on how much you're using it and so forth. So, but you're going to check this on a regular basis. If you have a question on whether or not it's good or not, just take it with you next time you go into the parts store and have somebody look at it, and they'll let you know whether or not it is time to replace your anode rod. Very, very simple on that. Now with these electric and propane water heaters, and even if it's just a regular electric, you may have one switch, you may have two switches. In this particular situation, we have two electric switches. You have one here, and you're going to have one on the inside. Now, some people might just have one out here, some people might just have one inside. So look at that. If you have it out here, you can leave this thing in the on position as long as you have the switch on the inside in the off position. These typically come with a little tape that they put over top of them so that they're taped either on or off. Typically, it's in the off position when we're receiving them. So you want to go ahead and check that. Now, I mentioned before you use your water heater that you want to make sure that it's full of water. And you do that by using the hot water spigot on your outside shower or on a faucet inside. And you're going to let it run until it'll spit and sputter until it's filled up, and then it'll run. You'll get a steady stream. Now, you got to make sure you have the plug in here, which is the Anode Rod. In order to fill it. Do not do like some people might tell you, and I've seen this on YouTube before, where they tell you to open up your pressure relief valve to fill up your water heater. The problem with that is this. When you fill up your water heater with a faucet, you're going to leave a little pocket at the top of your water heater, and that is for expansion and so forth. It leaves it room for it. Just, I guess, like a tire, you know, they tell you the max PSI. Same thing here. If in fact, so if you're filling up with the faucet, it's going to leave a pocket, and that's what's needed so that it will properly operate. If in fact you go ahead and pull this up after you hook up to a hose and let it fill up until you get a steady stream out of here, now you have overfilled your water heater tank, and now you're going to end up having leakage from here, and it could also affect how well the water heater operates. So remember that. So another thing is, let's say that you're having an issue with your water heater, it's not working, maybe on the electric side. You have reset buttons right here. Any questions on that, check your owner's manual, and it'll tell you all you gotta do is reset them. They're a resettable breaker, just reset it, and that should solve the problem on the electric side. Okay, so now you're at your campsite. You've already plugged in, you're all level and all that good stuff, and you want to get your water heater turned on. You hooked up your hose. You're going to open up a spigot, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's your outside shower, whatever, and you're going to make sure that you have continuously running water at the spigot. Once that's done, what you want to do is you want to make sure you fill the lines with propane, because if you have not used the propane system in a while, what's going to happen is you're going to have air pockets within the LP system. And what that'll cause is, that'll cause what we call misfires with any propane appliance, whether it be your refrigerator, whether it be your water heater or your furnace. If it tries to light, they'll try lighting 3 times. If it cannot light, it'll cut off. And that's what we would consider a misfire. The more misfires you have, the shorter the life expectancy of that appliance. So my recommendation, and I'm sure you probably have heard this before, is I would tell you to light the burners on your cooktop however which way you can. And I just tell you to light all 3 and shut them off. Then at that point, we have brought the propane from the tank up to this point. Sometimes this is going to be in front of your water heater, sometimes it's going to be in back of it, sometimes, you know, it's just, they're going to be in different locations, but at least you have it to this point. This will give you a less chance of having what we call a misfire. So now I'll show you on how these switches work. So what you're going to do is you're going to locate where you have your switches. It'll say water heater, and you'll have gas and electric. Now remember, as I told you, make sure that you had filled the water heater with water. The other thing, as I went over, as far as lighting the burners on your cooktop, to ensure that you've filled the lines with propane. So your propane bottles are open, you've done that. Now, you will always have what we call a DSI fault. That light would come on there if, in fact, the propane side of the water heater did not light. So what you're going to do, you're taking it, you get to the campground, turn the electric side on first. You've already paid for the electric for the site. Now if you're going to get ready to take multiple showers, turn the propane side on at that point, and that will give you additional hot water. What you're going to get is you get about 6 gallons of hot water an hour on the electric side by itself. If you were just running the propane, you're going to get about 10 gallons an hour. But both of those together, you're just going to get a little bit over 16 gallons of hot water an hour. That doesn't matter on the Suburbans whether you have a 6-gallon, a 10-gallon, or a 12-gallon water heater. So when you're done the final multiple showers, you can shut off the propane side to save yourself some propane. So that is how you should be doing it. Now, in the event that when you turn on your gas side and you get the direct spark ignition fault, what you'll do is you just turn off the water heaters, or you're going to turn off the gas side, maybe relight your burners again, turn it back on, and then you should be fine. If not, then you're going to have to troubleshoot at that point. Now, let's talk about when you're done camping. When you're done camping, stagnant water is not a friend of yours. And so what I recommend you do is to empty the water heater. Now, there's a few things you need to do before you empty the water heater. First of all, you want to make sure that the water's cool. You don't want hot water coming out at you. So what you're going to do is, while you're connected to the city water, or if you're using your freshwater tank, you can do it as well. Turn your water pump on, but open a hot water spigot and run it till the water cools down. At that point, then you disconnect your hose or shut off the water pump, and then open a spigot. If you do not open a spigot, you're going to have pressure on the system, and what will happen is when you pull this plug out, you're going to have water all over you. So what I tell you to do, open a spigot, make sure that you have the pressure off it, and then you can leave it open if you want. Then what you want to do is I would tell you to find your low point drains if you have them, and sometimes they have just little plugs. You'll take them off, take those out, they'll be cold and hot, set them in here for your trip home. Then remove your drain plug from your water heater. Now you're going to notice it's trickling out quite slow. Now if you want to go ahead and get that water to get out quicker, you can open up this valve, your pressure relief valve, and that water will evacuate rather quickly. Just think of it this way. Back in the day when maybe you were shotgunning a soda or maybe even a beer, you know, you take the little can opener in the bottom of the beer, then you open up that top, and that beer or that soda, whatever, comes out very quickly. Same thing here. Once it's all out, you can close that, put your door back on. When you get home, or you get to the storage lot, you put this back in, put your plugs back on the low point drains. That'll keep the critters from going in it. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, how to properly operate your Suburban water heater. Hopefully you found that helpful. And again, if you have any questions, any comments, do put them down below. Give me a thumbs up if you're liking what you're hearing here. If there's another particular system that you'd like me to cover, by all means, just comment down below, shoot me an email, and remember, if you call Beckley's, if you stop by, or if you email Beckley's Camping Center here in Thurmont, Maryland, you ask for the Air Force guy, and I'd be glad to help you out. Appreciate you watching, and I'll be coming back at you again soon. Take care.